Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Robertson with Taylor Smith, getting ready to go over this DraftKings main slate. Only 5 games, quite the change after yesterday's 11-game slate. Lots of craziness last night, so hopefully that is not what we're headed for here. The goal is to help you win. If we do anything that does that, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can catch videos like this in the future. And also come join our free Discord so you can talk shop, share your lineups, and get advice. And if you want core plays to build your lineups around, hit up our Patreon. All those links can be found on our YouTube channel right here. All right, let's get to it. Position by position we go. Starting at point guard, Austin Reeves looks amazing with no Luka. He comes in with a 52-point fantasy projection at only 9.1K. And he's going to be owned by about half the field. And if you're going into a single entry, even more than that. I don't see much reason to fade here. It just looks like a good play to eat. What are you thinking?
Yeah, we like high usage guards against Milwaukee to begin with. So like Luka was going to be a great play, but now that he's out, Reeves is going to do everything for them. We saw him nuke in this exact same role, I think less than a week ago against Denver with Luka and LeBron out. Minutes should be insane as long as the game's competitive. That was the 76-point game you see there.
Yep.
He was a good play anyway, even with Luka in, but with Luka out, he's like the most obvious play on the slate. And Chalk, I think you should just be eating on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the price is egregious or anything, and there's nothing really bad here. Obviously, you know, if a guy is 9.1K and he's going to be 50% owned, you can fade or go underweight. I just won't be doing that. That said, there are pivots here. Like LaMelo's only $400 more. We know LaMelo does have a massive ceiling. His minutes have been jerked around quite a bit. The Knicks are not like an elite matchup. I think LaMelo is a really good tourney play, but I'm not really racing to go get him. Same with Steph Curry at 9.2, Dame at 8.5. I think these guys are all fine and just inherently are going to be less owned tourney options compared to Reeves. But I just think if I'm going to pay a point guard, I'm just starting with Austin here.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are a lot of other good options. Like if Halliburton's in, he looks decent. I do like LaMelo a little bit off the injury report, but he was a midday downgrade the other day and didn't play. So who knows what will happen with that.
Yeah.
Curry should be back tonight. I think he's fine. The one I like the most, other than Reeves, I think is Lillard. 8,500 is pretty cheap for him these days. He's been ass lately, but good matchup. Lakers shorthanded, shouldn't be quite as stingy as they have been. And we're getting a pretty nice discount on him. So like Giannis is going to be the very obvious chalky spend up with Luka out. But I don't mind Dame as a leverage play just because his price is getting super low.
Yeah, I mean, he had 51 fantasy points in the same matchup just a few games ago. I think for me, it's less about leveraging against Reeves and just looking at these other guys who are going to be under-owned just because people are going for Reeves and then maybe also going for like Cat or Giannis or something. Stuff like LaMelo's going to be 10%, Curry's going to be 9%, Dame sub 30. Like all these guys still look pretty darn appealing. And of course, if you want to just completely leverage the Reeves ownership, that works too. Also, more to like, honestly, if Zach LaVine's out again, you do have Malik Monk who crushed last game, 48 fantasy points. I think he crushed the game before that, 50. So with an enhanced role, he would look good. Arguably a little bit too cheap. I mean, the Bulls are an amazing matchup, 7.9.
Even with like LaVine's projected in, but Monk still looks good just because Sabonis is out in the matchup. Like I'm happy to get Monk either way, but certainly if LaVine's out, he'll get an upgrade, no doubt.
Absolutely. Then you have the Giddey situation to monitor. He played yesterday, so it's possible he is out. If Giddey's in, Giddey's a fine tourney play at 8.5K against the Kings here. If he's out, Kobe White looks pretty darn good at 8.2. Don't really want any part of Kobe if Josh Giddey's in. Don't want any part of Scotty Barnes at 8.5 and a not so great matchup with his minutes being all over the place and Toronto just being annoying. I think the next guy I'm going to look to is I'll go down here to 5.8K D'Lo against the Pacers. Pretty good matchup. Not the best spot on the road here, but it is only 9-point spread. Not great. But still, D'Lo in a decent matchup at that price. I don't hate it. I think that's pretty good value.
Yeah, the Cams are out. So no Thomas, no Cam Johnson. So the usage should flow to him. He's not going to play 30 minutes, which is annoying, but he's cheap. He's really good per minute. He can pay that off. It's a pretty good matchup overall. So I don't mind that. He's someone that stands out quite a bit. Early in the day, certainly could fade depending on what else opens up. There are some punts. Like I think Miles McBride is okay if he's in. He's questionable himself. And if he's not in, and they're obviously without Brunson, I'm already getting some campaign anyway. campaign, assuming he would start with McBride out, would be probably a core play if that comes down.
100%. He's only 3.1K. We know he's a good permanent guy. He does not hesitate to get his shot up. So I would imagine he would start and he'd run the offense a little bit. So yeah, he looks amazing at 3.1. Just a couple of pivots away from D'Lo in case you're not super psyched about the point spread and or the fact that he's not going to play more than 30 minutes. You can stick with his team there with Keon Johnson at 5.9. Keon looks like a solid play. Projects a little bit lower than D'Lo, but he's going to get more minutes probably, and he's only $100 more expensive, and he's going to be less owned. So I think he's okay. If McBride is in, he's a direct pivot in the same price range. Like you said, he looks good. Trey Jones at 6.3. If Giddey is out, he's going to look really good. If Giddey is in, he's okay, because he still is going to get like 35 minutes or so, because there's still no Lonzo, still no Ayo Dosunmu. So like we still want to keep him in our player pool. But if Giddey's out, Trey Jones looks pretty darn good. Another punt I think you were going to get to is probably going to be Gabe Vincent at 4.3K. Do I feel good about playing Gabe Vincent? No, but we know the Lakers are shorthanded and obviously no Luka, so he's going to get 30 plus minutes. So 4.3K against the Bucks, that doesn't look that bad actually.
Yeah, I'm getting him a lot. Never feels good. Like I hope the campaign thing opens up, because I'd much rather do that than play a more expensive Gabe Vincent. But minutes should be there. He didn't play in this last game that they were without Luka and LeBron, but minutes should be sky high for him, I would think. So he's fine. Never the most comfortable play though. Certainly not into ownership, but
no,
it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. 26% owned. I do like that he's shooting guard eligible, but so is campaign. So that's kind of irrelevant for me. Gabe Vincent is very scoring dependent, though. He's not a guy who's going to do a lot of stuff out there, so he needs to be hitting those threes. I think he's an okay play, but just not one I want to stick on. Keon Ellis at 4.8K. If Levine ends up being out, he feels better. Like that just feels like a safer play. Not really in on Keon if Levine is back. Is there any other value down here that we are excited to play? My guess is no.
I'm not excited to play, but yeah, that's probably it. Kevin Porter Jr. always okay. Like the ceiling's there, but his minutes are very
chance
not appealing.
Any chance the Knicks throw us a curveball and start like Tyler Kolek or something?
I mean, I assume not, just because Tibbs usually just goes next man up and doesn't fuck around. Although he did fuck around with Precious and stuff.
He sure did. That's why I bring it up.
I would just assume it would be pain. Like I'm getting to a lot of pain as things stand now, just because he's cheap and not owned.
Yeah.
So that's not comfortable, but I'll feel a lot better about it, obviously, if McBride's out. Even if Payne doesn't start, I'm still going to play him a ton if McBride is out.
Yeah, he's 3.1K. He gets 15 minutes a game usually, and he is a good permanent guy. I don't have a problem with that price at all. But obviously, if McBride's out, that is just chalk that we just eat and move on. All right, shooting guard, Reeves obviously is the top guy there. It's a pretty big free fall after that. Malik Monk does still look good either way. Obviously, he is a smash if Levine is out. We already talked about Kobe White. Levine himself, hey, a little bit of Bulls revenge here. It is in Sacramento, but he does get to face his former team if he's in. With everybody there, I know Sabonis is still out. I'm not like super excited to play Levine at 8.6K, but if you want to play the revenge factor, you can. Just not a great projection here. Mikal Bridges is probably the first one that starts standing out here, and it gets a little bit more appealing if McBride ends up missing. 6.2 is a decent price there. But then same guys you're talking about. And then there's Jordan Goodwin. Nice little small forward eligibility as well. He looks pretty darn good here at 4.6.
Yep. He is a building block. I feel better about him than I do about someone like Gabe Vincent. But, if he's going to be owned twice as much as Vincent, then there's a case for Vincent right there. But Goodwin's historically a pretty good per minute guy. No issue with it. Minutes should be pretty significant. Bridges is fine. Like he's cheap. I just never really feel good about playing Mikal Bridges. Certainly not into ownership either. And since he complained to Tibbs about the minutes they've been playing, his minutes have been pretty significantly down. 32 in the last couple of games after playing like 40-ish every game the whole season. And that's a guy where you need essentially all the minutes that he can possibly get to get you there. So if he's going to be popular, that's a guy I don't mind coming in well under the field on. Other than that, it's pretty grim at this position. There's not really a lot to like. Like in a vacuum, Bridges is a good play because the position's weak, but I think McBride's fine at 5'8". Otherwise, you're looking at Zaire Williams, Keon Johnson, like you mentioned, at point guard's pretty good. Don't mind Pajemski, good matchup for the Warriors, but really falls off a cliff. I wish Connect were cheaper, but it's kind of hard to justify him at 5'6".
Yeah, so the thing with Mikal Bridges, like he played 32 minutes in each of the last 2 games. Both games were blowouts in the end. So I was kind of just looking at that and thinking, like, probably just blowout base. So maybe nothing to worry about. But if his minutes are actually down to 32, I'm off of that at ownership completely. Like you said, Bridges needs 38 to 40 minutes for you to feel comfortable. So no, if he's gonna be pushing 30% ownership and he's not getting full allotment of minutes, I'm not too excited about that. The other thing is, I do like Connect because his price is going to keep ownership down to a certain degree. Now, here's the other thing. How many Lakers is too many Lakers?
I'm kind of getting to 3 for the most part. I haven't actually looked into that to set rules, but most of them are pretty crappy. Like Reeves is great. Goodwin's pretty good, but the other guys are like low usage, low per minute producers. So I do think Connect is fine, certainly as a Bridges pivot in the same-ish price range, but I'm not really wanting to get into guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Jackson
No.
Hayes and things like that. So
I
I don't
think
really
they're
think you need to
okay.
take that deep of a dive into Lakers. I think 3 to 4, 4 maybe pushing it even. I think 3 is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, I agree. I like those guys, isolated are fine. Like if you want to play Hayes and like Reeves and Goodwin, that's okay. Just I think I agree. 3, maybe 4, but I think right now it's Reeves and Goodwin and then Connect for me, just because I feel like Connect is a little bit more appealing than eating chalk with Gabe Vincent or playing one of these other guys who are just low usage, like Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, Connect is not safe, but he's also not owned right now, so that's definitely interesting. Kevin Huerter, if Giddey's out 5.5K against the Kings, that's a little revenge game for him. Plus, the Kings do not defend the perimeter very well, so that's not a bad play. That's probably it. I mean, if like Halliburton remains out, you can look to Mathurin again. So there's that. He doesn't project very well with Hallie projected in, so probably would only really get excited about it if Halliburton misses again. And LaMelo and Bridges appear to be back, so we can thankfully get off of the Hornets value.
I think you can play Wendell Moore just because he's so cheap and the position is so bad. He's 3,200. Marcus Garrett could be out. That's another rotation body who's questionable, who's been playing minutes. So Wendell Moore as a punt at no ownership, I don't mind. Gary Trent Jr. as a punt is okay. He's like 3,500, like super cheap. So those guys are okay, but yeah, certainly not exciting options.
Yeah. So over at small forward, DeMar DeRozan projected really well last night. He did score well, but he didn't do much else, so he did not hit. He had a 45-point fantasy projection, only got 36, so that was a bummer. But he projects really well again. 8.2K against the Bulls, a little bit of a revenge game for him as well. I think he's okay at that price, anyways. I don't dislike him at all. I just would feel a lot better about him with no Levine. But Sabonis is still out, so all these Kings guys, even though they feel expensive, they're still in play. Monk, DeMar, and then obviously possibly even Levine. I think DeMar is probably the one I like the most, but they all do carry a little bit of risk because they can kind of eat into each other. How do you feel about DeMar up here?
He's okay. I think I prefer Hart. The ownership I'm looking at has Hart at like 1/3 of DeRozan's ownership, and they're pretty similarly priced. So I know it's a back-to-back for both of them, but I'll just take the discount on Hart. A salary and an ownership discount. I think that's a pretty good play.
Plus, he was terrible yesterday, so I bet you a lot of people are going to be off of him.
I mean, his range of outcomes is insane because he can get usage really, but he can still put up a triple double, so he can get you there at 8K. Anunoby's fine. 71's a lot to pay for him, but he's been balling without Brunson. He gets a big usage boost. I don't mind that at all. I like them both a lot more than Bridges for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeRozan's fine. I'll probably be under the field though, especially if Levine's back. I'm not really into that too much.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and then other than that, it's pretty gross. Like Bridges is okay. Kuzma's cheap, but he's been trash. Wendell Moore, talked about him. Noah Clowney is a cheap net, fine. Him and Zaire Williams are kind of the same guy, so not exciting, but that's kind of the theme of the slate, it seems.
Yeah. Just to double down or reiterate, DeMar, if Levine is out, I do like. If Levine is in, I don't mind being under at all as well. All right, over to power forward. Giannis leads the way there, as you would expect, beating the next guy by 21 fantasy points in terms of projection. The Lakers don't have anybody that can stop him, so he could absolutely wreck here. He is expensive, and obviously if you want to go get Reeves and anybody else, it's going to be a little bit tough to get him in there comfortably. And because of that, he's not coming in egregiously owned. I mean, you can make a strong case for just forcing your way to Giannis here. There is all the Lakers value, and there is potentially a lot more than that. Obviously, Payne, a couple other punts you mentioned. So where are you at on Giannis? Are you going to go over the field? Because right now, that is what I would be doing.
Yeah, I'm over the field. I'm seeing like 23%. I assume that's low. I think he'll be more owned than that with the Luka situation. So as of now, I'm over. He's the top overall play on the slate. Really no contest at all. Well, Reeves is the top play on the slate, I guess. But in terms of raw points, it's Giannis.
I think maybe Cat.
So,
Cat is like definitely a potential leverage play. I didn't check his ownership yet, but I'd still be interested in Cat for sure.
Yeah, Cat's a good play too. I just think Giannis is significantly better. He's shown more of a ceiling. His ceiling's not Jokic or Luka level necessarily, but it has been higher than Cat's of late. So fine with Giannis. Again, like this position really drops off a cliff after that. I mentioned Hart and Anunoby. Clowney talked about. Keegan Murray's fine, like a cheap king. I never loved Keegan Murray, but he can pop off every now and then. Really good matchup against Chicago for what he does well also. So I do like that a little bit. Draymond, another guy I never loved to play, but if he's going to be low owned-ish at 6'3", he can pay that off. Good matchup as well for Golden State against the tanking Raptors. Only issue is potential blowout, but crappy slate, so I'm okay with that. Not getting to a lot of Siakam or Jimmy Butler, but they're always viable.
Yeah, I think the thing with Siakam is if Halliburton's out, we can certainly get a little bit more excited about him. But the Nets just play slow anyways. Plus, there is blowout risk with a 9-point spread there. So if Halliburton's out, I will definitely like Siakam a lot more. As it stands, I'm not really excited there. I think Hart does look like the best power forward after Giannis. Jimmy's fine. Always prefer Steph to be out to go play Jimmy at that price, but nothing wrong with him at all. Agree with Keegan. Obviously, 6K, it's getting up there for him, but he plays a lot of minutes and no Sabonis, so he looks fine. Kuminga at 5.5 looks like a decent low mid-range option. Not like major minutes right now, but the matchup is good, and he is a good per-minute player, so I don't mind that. Do we want to dare play DeQuan Jeffries again? I don't think so. Trey Lyles at 3.7. Not the worst punt in the world with no Sabonis and JV. Just like, can we trust JV to get minutes anymore? Like they've been yanking him around a little bit. So I think
if Laravia is out, I think Lyles played 30 minutes last night with Laravia out. So I think that might be the key to unlocking him. If that happens again, I'm pretty interested. But otherwise, it's kind of a tough sell.
Well, I think he's in play even if Laravia is back. But if Laravia is out, I thought I saw that he was out already.
I think he's questionable. I don't think they've submitted today's report yet.
Okay, he is
questionable.
Oh yeah. Well, he's sick too. So I don't even know if I would fully feel comfortable with him being back.
I was just saying Lyles would be unlocked. I don't really I guess you could play Laravia. There's a lot of risk. If Levine is out, you can play.
I don't want to play Laravia either way. I'm just saying, like, even if Laravia is ruled in, if he's dealing with an illness, like at 3.7, I think Lyles would be in play. But I agree, if Laravia is out, then Lyles just looks like a really, really good value. Not seeing anything else. You said Wendell Moore before at 3.2. That's fine. You can go with the Lakers bigs like Vandy and stuff if you want to. I don't feel amazing about it. The thing back to Giannis though, the reason why getting to Giannis
forward only, that's small forward, power forward.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's really weird.
Like with no Luka, just nobody else really has that massive upside that Giannis does possess. So it just feels tough to get to not play him. So Giannis obviously available at center. I do like Cat though. Still, if you're not going to play Giannis, I think getting to Cat makes a lot of sense. He does project for over 50 fantasy points. He is going to be a little bit more owned because he's way cheaper. But he looks really good. The Hornets have Mark Williams down there at the 5, and he's not going to stop him. So Cat looks awesome. After that, I get a little bit less interested. Don't really want to pay a premium for 24 minutes of Mark Williams. Don't want to pay a premium for JV getting his minutes yanked around when he's playing terrible defense or throwing the ball out of bounds, like whatever. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like any of these other mid-range centers. I think it would start at like Dre. I played Miles Turner last night. He did not play the fourth quarter at all. So that was really, really cool. Nick Claxton's okay value. Brooke Lopez. I think these guys are okay. But like center, like, is there a punt we can look at here? Because I feel like it's Giannis or Cat.
I think it's a really terrible position.
Yeah.
So once you get past the top two, it's like you don't really want any of them.
No, I know.
I do think Nurk is okay just because he's mega cheap.
3.2 Nurk. My goodness.
Good per minute. Dayron was projecting for ownership, like fine off the bench, but I'd much rather play him. I played him the other night in single entry at 0.61% ownership. Tonight he's going to be like 20% owned, it looks like. I think Claxton is fine as leverage against that. But yeah, it's kind of a shit show after you get past the top two.
Yeah, I think if Lavravia is out, playing Giannis at power forward and maybe Lyles at center could be a good way to go. And like I said, really like Cat too. All right, it is a 5-game slate. That does it for the position by position breakdown. Do you have any major flag plants and kind of cemented strategy going in, or is there major news that you're waiting on still?
Yeah, it would be like campaign if McBride's out, but otherwise I'm just kind of paying up for Reeves, paying up for Giannis. I think pivoting from DeRozan to Hart is a good ownership play, assuming that holds. Other than that, you just kind of have to wait on news. Like Noah Clowney at low ownership, I think is a pretty interesting cheap play, but I don't know. It's a pretty gnarly slate, all things considered.
Yeah, I think the only like flag plant I would have is maybe if you're not going to play Giannis, pair Austin Reeves. Like, I don't want to fade Austin Reeves. It is what it is. I'm just going to play him. But I would maybe consider pairing him with somebody with a lot of upside that is not going to be owned. And right now, the two guys that stand out the most are LaMelo and Steph. I think I would lean LaMelo just because, I mean, it's just him and Bridges, really. And he projects a little bit better, and he's not that much more expensive. And also, there's blowout risk with the Warriors against the Raptors for sure. So LaMelo is pretty interesting here on this slate. I think pairing Reeves and LaMelo, if you're going to do that, you're probably not going to be able to get to Giannis comfortably unless you're taking a ton of dives. I just don't think the math isn't math in there. I don't think that's going to work. But yeah, I'm with you on Payne too. Really, really like Payne, and I'm building with him in right now. So hopefully McBride ends up getting ruled out. But overall, just going to have to keep an eye on the news, and we'll update those core plays. If you need extra advice, obviously we still have like 3.5 hours until lock. So head into our Discord. It is free. You can come chat, talk shop, and you can also take advantage of our core plays by heading over to Patreon. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck.